We're live. All right, we're live. Jodie, you wanted to talk about CPI. So I had him on the thumbnail put economic update because not everyone knows what the CPI is. I know the Fed's meeting next week.
Right.
So there's some anticipation. What might the interest rates do? We think
Mhm.
they're fairly stable for the rest of this week, which is
For the rest of
2
this-
days, a
Yeah.
day and a half.
Yeah.
What about the CPI? So CPI is Consumer Price Index.
Right.
And loan officer, Jodie, I want to update people on the CPI. Everyone out there might be like, okay, and what? But that affects our interest rates, right?
Yes.
So what's going on with the CPI?
So just to rewind a little bit, in July, we had some really good news because the CPI, so the cost of that consumers pay for goods and services, went down.
Okay.
Okay. We want the CPI to go down. We need the CPI to go down.
It's a reflection of inflation, right?
It's a reflection of inflation,
Yeah.
and we need it to go down.
Or indicator, whatever.
It's almost interchangeable with inflation.
Yeah.
It's just a different, it's a certain grouping of things that get tracked.
It's a measure of
Yeah,
inflation, right?
yeah.
Okay. So we want it to go down.
We want it to go down because if once CPI/inflation goes down, mortgage interest rates will be able to come down.
But here's the thing. You said like that's my understanding too, right? But
Yeah.
then we saw positive CPI trends. And then it was explained to me that because the CPI is coming down, that's why they're confident leaving rates up. It's like, oh, we're good. We can leave rates up because inflation's doing good. Jobs reports are like too strong. Unemployment's too strong. So they're like almost like overly confident. Like, oh, we'll just leave the rates high then because we're doing
Well,
fine with them
no.
high.
No,
No?
because we're not at the target CPI target inflation rate yet.
Okay.
If we were at the target CPI target inflation rate,
Rates would go down.
rates would go down.
Even
They wouldn't
if
have any reason any incentive to keep them up, even if our economy was still doing good.
okay.
The reality is that if they are at 2%, which is where the Fed wants them,
CPI.
CPI,
Okay.
then the economy would be shrinking a little bit. So
But the problem is the economy is expanding, even though we had a trend downwards in the CPI.
right. So there was some good news. July was good. June was good. And rewind to the worst month, which was June of 2022,
Okay.
which CPI was 9%.
And what is it now?
It was 3.7
Wow.
in August.
I feel like rates should be better.
Yeah. So
You know what I feel like? So Jodie knows this stuff at a different level and can speak about it with a different level of intelligence. I feel like no matter what update I get, rates are high. CPI is good, CPI is bad, jobs report good, job report bad. Rates are high either way. Like that's
and
my
and and
uneducated feel on it.
and that's a very realistic feeling, and it is warranted because although 3.7 is leaps and bounds better than 9.1%,
Mhm.
it is still not 2%. So
Mm.
the fight and the battle to win the inflation battle is not won. So rates aren't going to come down yet.
What if we were at 2%
Mhm.
and the economy was still expanding? Like, because it does not necessarily that once you reach 2%, inherently the economy is 100% going to be slowed.
Right? So they call that a soft landing and
Would they drop rates?
immaculate disinflation.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's what they call it.
That's what they call it. Okay.
When
Immaculate conception. Okay.
immaculate disinflation or a soft landing, which is when you don't have to experience a mass type of recession or, a big increase in unemployment,
Mhm.
but yet the cost of goods are gonna go down.
But if they lower interest rates, the housing market's gonna go off. People are probably gonna buy more cars, like, these things are gonna happen. So will they lower rate necessarily if we get to 2%? Or they'd be like, these people need to chill first before we lower rates."
They will slowly taper them down. It's
Okay.
not like they're gonna go from 6.875 4%.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we hit 2% inflation. Now mortgage rates are going to miraculously drop 2% overnight.
Like they did in COVID.
Right.
Yeah. To bail us out of an imaginary, a sort of artificial recession.
Yeah.
I say imaginary because things were all at a dead stop in COVID, but artificially so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So what's that mean? What's that mean for people buying right now, for people considering buying? I have some updates after you respond regarding the way offers and escrows are looking for us. What's that mean for people with the CPI improving?
I think it means the expectation based on the August data of 3.7% is there might only be one more rate hike for the rest of the year.
Might only be one more rate hike for the rest of the year.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's good news. It's a expectation that, may or may not happen,
Okay.
but it's good news in terms of mortgage rates most likely not going up. So yes, they're still high,
Mhm.
but being that we kind of can be at the light at the end of the tunnel and meaning just getting to the end of the year. That's it.
Yeah.
Not like we're getting
With
to
the interest rate tunnel,
right,
the annual tunnel.
right.
Yeah.
Then we kind of know where we're going to be from a mortgage interest rate perspective. It's not going to, we don't anticipate it's going to be a crazy last quarter where it can make or break your qualifying. Like
Yeah.
we've had instances this year where depending on timing of getting an accepted offer,
Yeah.
the rate literally could make or break, or buyers had to find ways to come up with more money to buy down the rate because it's the only way that they could have qualified.
I texted you yesterday. I texted all you guys, "Hey, we have this counteroffer situation. Does it matter? Is it really important that we think about Wednesday versus Thursday versus Friday? Because we've had periods of time like that this year, even last month or 2.
In this month, yeah.
Yeah, where we're like, "Better accept today, or because if you wait till tomorrow, you're screwed."
Yeah, because
Um,
there was a lot going on in the past, in the beginning, well, definitely the end of August,
yeah.
where rates were going up.
And you said something. You said Jodie said, "Rates suck," or, "Rates are high," and they are high. We are not someone whom historically like, we are not a team, core team Hawaii, brokered by EXP or Jodie, Pacific Grand Mortgage. We're not gonna say, "Well, my mother bought, it was 18%," and we don't do that. And in fact, to be more negative, when rates were 18% back then, affordability was still better than it is right now.
Oh, yeah,
If you look at
100%.
wages versus cost of home
Yeah.
at 8%, it's worse than wages versus cost of home at 18% 30 years ago or
Oh,
whenever that
yeah.
was. So just being quite honest, the rates, although not as high as they've been historically, in decades past, the situation sucks more now than it has in the past.
Yep.
The unfortunate part about that is, and we say this continually on the channel, I don't think that that's a reason not to buy, because with the expectation that rates will come down in the next 9 to 18 months or something, when that happens, or the housing market's shown such resilience. They've literally tried to crash it. It won't. It's just that there aren't the supply and demand. There's less transactions happening. But we just offered on one in Mililani Mauka. We're one of 5 offers. Most I know we were one of at least 5 good offers. Who knows how many not good offers? Those 5 were above asking. We and asking is figurative, like, I might know that this house is gonna sell for 800,000, and I'm feeling cute as a listing agent, so I list it for 750, so asking is subjective.
Yeah.
However, they were asking what the last comp sold for, except for unique factor, this was one of the few two-car garages in the community.
Oh, wow.
So that represents tens of thousands of dollars more, but anyways, we offered tens of thousands over asking. We were beat by a lot, and our buyer had $400,000 down.
Yeah.
So in this, the highest interest rate period in the year and in decades, we we're in multiple offer situations. We're in escrow on one, above $4 million.
Mhm.
They had multiple offers. Now they have supposedly they have cash backups,
Yeah.
and it's competitive from 4 million on the beach to $700,000 townhome.
Yep.
There are competitive situations. Now there are also homes that are just sitting. So, but that's not abnormal. In a normal market, so in 2001 and 2015, the average time to sell a home wasn't 7 days, it wasn't instant. So the fact that some homes are sitting 60 days, that's not necessarily a sign of a weak market. It's just a sign of a market that isn't insane like 2021.
Right.
So my point to all that is when interest rates come down, I feel very confident that housing prices are gonna go up, and they're gonna do so in a quick fashion because even at these rates, even at, the situation that we have now, it's still competitive. It's
It's still
still
competitive
competitive,
and it is still going up
and it's still like, yeah,
according to the data.
the data, the trend, it's still going up. So
That's where buyers kind of lose me sometimes. They're like, "Really?" Like they
there's no like, almost like, I can't believe you. The
Right,
housing market can't be going up.
right.
But
And I'm like, "Well, we're just looking at the data."
yeah.
And based on the most recent reports, it is.
The New York Times published a thing that said watermelons are actually unhealthy. And then I come to you and like, watermelons cannot be going up in price. And you're like, yeah, Derek, but they're way less. It's like not watermelon season, so to get one, it's expensive. Like there's a scarcity of the watermelon, so those people who want them, they're paying more.
Right.
That kind of situation.
Yeah.
There are less watermelons. There are less houses to sell right now. So the people who want them, they go high. And I think they are banking on refinancing to a lower rate.
Oh, they are.
It's only rationalization. Homes are too unaffordable.
It's part of the strategy. It's part of the strategy.
Yeah, we did this on the
So
last live, but if this is the housing market, this is the house you want, and let's say it's the house with 5 competing offers that we offered on. This is the house. There's this barrier right now. That barrier is high interest rates. So 5 people wrote competitive offers. Imagine if rates were lower. Imagine if I removed this barrier. It would have been like 15 above asking offers.
yeah,
That's the situation. So I'd rather would this is an oversimplified question, but would you rather be buying now when there's less competition, or would you rather be buying later when there's a lot of competition? And the answer is obviously with less competition. The other side to that coin is now with high interest rates. So make sure you can afford it. Make sure you can
yeah,
afford it. If rates stay the way they are for 3 years, make sure that's not gonna break you.
right.
Make sure you can afford it. If you can put more down, put more down. Um, by the way, we got our new let us know in the comment section what you think about our new setup. We've been excited to get this thing in. It's a special TV called a Samsung frame, so it doesn't put off the same glare and whatever. And there's a website in the back. So you can go to book a call in the top right corner there, and you can book a call with us.
Yep.
You can schedule a time to do a consult. Um, we we have some questions from the last live, so I'm gonna get to those. We also I'm getting a silent signal from a media team in the back that we have some questions stacking up for now. But first, let me just get to some of the comments from the last live because we always promised you guys, like, even if you're watching the replay, leave your comments, we'll get to them. So there was a lot of the same what we're talking about now. Some people, for example, one person said, "Yeah, but when rates go low again, there's going to be a lot of extra sellers." And while that's true,
I
there will
wouldn't
be
say extra.
I'll say actually there will be more sellers, but there will be way more buyers. Like the way rates affect buyers and the quantity thereof, there there's more buyers than sellers. Sellers don't just wake up and, "You know what? Let's clean up. I want to do an open house this Sunday." Like, it's a big that is preceded by life events. But buyers can wake up one day and be like, "You know what? Rates are good. Yeah, let's go there. Let's go to courtteamhawaii.com in the top right-hand corner." Like buyers can do that. Um, One person said, "Now it's time to invest in short-term treasury bills." I get that. Uh, I have enough cash. I have enough equity in my current home to do a cash offer on my next home. How does it matter if inventory and interest rates are high or low? I actually I wanna write that cash offer when rates are the highest, because that should mean that home prices is your best chance to get a good deal and leverage your cash.
Right.
And then when interest rates go low, my home value goes up, and if I wanna access that cash and pull it out through a line of credit or a refinance, I can do it at that time. So I effectively grow my cash because the equity of the home goes up, and I can still access it, but at a lower rate than today. So if I'm all cash, I'm waiting, like, I want rates to be 18% if I'm all cash. The housing market is here to stay, don't expect any significant changes. Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been saying, like, it's just showing resilience. Uh, I don't know that back in 2021 when rates were 2 and 3%, if they would have told you, "Hey, in a year and 18 months from now, rates will be 7%." Do you think the market will be this resilient? Would you think so? Like,
I did.
you did?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought so. First quarter of last year when things slowed down a ton, I was a little nervous. Like, I was like, "We're gonna be okay," but, like, I don't know about this expanding team and scaling operations, like,
Uh-huh.
I knew we would be fine, but we were a little scared, you know? But you've been through way more market cycles.
I have.
You've
Not
been through
one
more.
like this, but,
No one's been people who say that they've been through this, they haven't, 'cause this doesn't happen.
this has never happened.
Yeah, the things that exist now, this never happened. It should be a conundrum for anyone. And then we just got a lot of other positive comments. So actually, I don't have another question to ask, so I'm gonna go to today's live. You wanna prompt me, Andrew, like, on the question? Rambler? Okay, my channel. Okay, got it. Rambler has been on recently, 7.17. I'm back, 7.17 mortgage rate. 2% inflation from 3.5%. Will this take forever? Well, how long do you get from? Because it's like when you lose weight, first 5 pounds comes off, right? But that last 1.5 of CPI inflation,
Yeah,
is that a tough 1.5?
it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why to get there, it is people are going to have to get laid off. Like, unemployment is going to have to go up. Oh, things are going to have to slow down. People are gonna have to stop spending as much. Those are all things that have to happen, to get to 2%.
Yeah. That's a really intelligent question. Thanks for that question. Someone Cool Network says inflation is 20 to 30% by real world levels. I think that's probably a stretch, but one thing I don't know economics, macroeconomics at a scholarly level. Jodie actually majored in is your master's in economics? So, different level sitting next to me, but one thing I have heard is that the CPI is often skewed because then they'll take out outliers. So it's like things are, inflation's at 6%, but, like, copper is at 30.
Mhm,
Let's remove copper. Yeah. But if they didn't do that, then inflation usually probably is higher than what they're saying, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
And there's, a lot of other factors like wages, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're making the same amount that you were making last year and it already went up, okay, so this is a confusing concept, but it going up 9% in June of 2023, it's not like it goes back to the starting point. So, like, if it went up
Mm.
2%, then it went up
The start
1%, then it went up 9%, then it went up 8, 8, 8, 8, 7. Like, it's not going back to the starting point of
so
the baseline.
the start line moves.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Baseline move.
right, baseline moves. So, yeah, I mean, it's not to say like, I read a quote from a fire chief that said, "Yeah, so my annual increase was 3%. You're telling me August inflation was 3.7, but I still haven't caught up from all those 9s and 8s in 2022."
Well, that was a big on that concept, I'm gonna switch it to the housing market. If you look at the graph of how the housing market performed through the Great Recession of 2008 and then beyond, people were in 2014 and 15 and 16 were like, "It has to crash," because the market's been positive consistently for year over year over year. What they weren't taking into account is the valley of 2008, how steep it was. So although, yes, there was this, like, linear progression of a positive market, if you factor in how low it went in 2008, a lot of that was just returning to normal. So, similar kind of concept. Rambler, does inflation affect tourism to Hawaii? Uh, I feel
Yeah.
like in a positive way, like, people have money, and they come here and spend it. You know, COVID affected tourism everywhere. People were pent up, and there's pent up energy, like literal pent up energy because they're locked in a house. And then there's also like pent up uh, stimulus checks, things of that nature. So people are
People
just
had saved.
traveling.
People had saved, right,
Yeah,
during COVID.
because they weren't like going to a $100 movie night.
Right,
They just
right.
had extra money.
Yeah. But
Uh,
what something interesting that someone from the tourism industry told me is that the tourist has changed. Like, the tourist that is coming to Hawaii has changed. Like, they're not, um, they're bargain hunting. Like, they're they're coming here because they want to, like, experience paradise, but they're not going like, "Okay, let's go to Louis Vuitton and buy a bag." Like, "Let's go to," like, "We have to go to High." Like,
yeah,
I heard High's was, like, the place to be, or, "We have to go to this restaurant," right? They're, like,
yeah,
looking for the local, like, hole in the wall, first of
yeah,
all,
yeah.
and then they're not friendly.
I gotcha. Yeah, they like got good flights, but then they're balling on a budget when they
Right,
get
they're
here.
balling on a budget for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, Here's a good question with Jodie present. George Chan says, "What's the average income of a home buyer in Hawaii?"
That's a great question. I actually had a consult today with one of your buyers, and they asked how much more they were gonna have to make in order to afford an 800K property from, California, and, based on her personal situation, I told her that she was gonna have to be making about 36,000 more in order to qualify for the
Mm,
800K she was looking for. But to answer the question, I would say that it's not easy to answer that question just because people are buying, like, some people are buying for, like, right now we're in Escrows, with an uncle and a niece, and they're buying a two-bedroom condo for 450,000,
mhm.
they make a certain amount, and then we also have clients that are buying $4 million properties.
Yeah, and you also have, I think, George Chan giving the the demographics and the people who are watching you a lot of times from the mainland and whatnot. I think he means, like, relocation buyers often, but here's the thing, a lot of people are trading up, like, this is not their first monopoly move. This
Right.
is not their first green house.
They have it down.
Yeah, they have it
They
down,
sold in California, and they're coming to us with, 2 to 300,000 down.
or they're local people who are moving up from a townhome to a single
Right,
family, and they have 400,000 in equity, Ryan and JC, they 2 school teachers.
mhm,
They're buying single family, and they were selling it, getting a bunch of, money from that great purchase they made as younger, people starting out. Now they're having a kid, so, uh, they 2 teachers, 2 teachers buying single family in Mililani. So their income, we know their teachers' income's public in Hawaii. They start mid-50s and maybe they're at 70,000 or something, but let's just assume they both make 60,000, 65,000. That's 120, 130,000 total buying a single family house, but they had all this home equity from their home that they were trading up. So it's not an easy question to answer.
yeah.
But
I
it's
would say, like, if you had no debt and you're trying to qualify around, like, 6 to 700K, it would be, like
600, 6 to 700 unless they're buying West Side, Waianae, Sea Country is gonna have a association fee too.
right,
Yeah,
right,
600. When we talk in increments of hundreds of thousands, we know that under 800,000, unless you're on a certain part of the island, we're talking townhome condo with,
right,
just assume, call it 500 HOA.
yeah,
If it's east side or something, call it 700 probably. Town, call it 7 to 1,200,
right.
and then if it's more west side, call it a 4 or 5, 600,000, 600 HOA. So that 700 Jody's referencing, just for you out there, I think 800 is just add 100,000 because that 500 per month HOA, 600 per month HOA, somewhere around 100,000 in borrowing power if it weren't condo, townhome. So
So with no debt, I would say like 150,000.
150,000. So per month gross, what are these people making?
So
And we're leaving military buyers out because they're their own thing.
yeah, this is not for VA
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they have a very different qualifying matrix,
yeah.
and they have income that we're able to gross up. You know, they get BAH.
They're so stable. They can't get fired. They have a
Right,
non-taxable housing
right, right,
allowance.
right.
Their debt to income thing with the Jenny Mae product.
Just right. They
With
can
them,
they can have a high debt to income ratio. They
yeah.
actually qualify for more.
When I was buying my first home, Jodie and them eventually, and I'm different now, okay? But they were like, "Your books are messed up. Like, your books aren't that clean. Let's just drop your income off and use your wife's income, who was a full-time school teacher at the time." And she didn't make that much, but we were able to buy a home, and it was just with the VA loan, that was the better situation. Now, I've hired professionals, I've cleaned up my life and my books, for the record.
Yeah.
So per month, like 12,000 combined household income.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Alright, let's go to some more questions. How much more inflation needs to drop? It's coming from 3.7. Jody mentioned that earlier, probably before we got on. The goal is to get to 2% on inflation. Um, oh, Mike said you can still buy on the Big Island. Yes, in fact, we send, quite a bit of business to our partners on the Big Island, so if you're looking on Big Island, still reach out to us. We close 1 or 2 deals a year on outer islands ourselves, core team Hawaii, but it has to be a unique situation. Like, I wouldn't put our income needs before your best interest, and so typically, we may partner with someone on the other islands if appropriate and/or connect you with the right person, help you find people similar to us, as skilled and honest and all that stuff as we are. But yeah, Big Island's still way more affordable. Also, when I look at appreciation, I look at a long-term play, I look through a recession. The good and the bad about Oahu is that the land is a finite resource. I mean, it's finite on Big Island, but we aren't expanding and growing a ton. On Big Island, you can still build quite a bit. And then there's not as, there's not just not as much economic activity to be had. It's more reliant on tourism, things
But
like that.
there is a lot of development happening.
There's a lot of development. So, like, right now, if you buy new construction in Eva, if you wanna sell in a year, you're competing with the builder.
Right.
Big Island's a little bit more of that than Oahu. Oahu, that really only exists right there in the new build area. This is a great video. Thank you. Edibert. Buying a distressed property and using credits to buy down the interest rate on your mortgage would be a strategic way to save on your home purchase. So distressed in the official sense on our side means it's behind on payments. Not just that it's termite eaten and has foundational problems. I think usually when people say distressed, they think like structurally distressed.
Right.
For us, we like the verbiage in the contract, distressed means they're behind on payments. But in any case, do that and then you buy down credits on your interest rate. That could, I mean, that if you're looking at a 30-year play, I suppose I don't like buying down credits as much for me because there's a today cost to that, and I'm just planning to refinance. So I don't wanna spend $10,000, $20,000 buying down credits when I can, like, forecast, what if I had a 5% loan today versus a 7% loan today? What are the difference in my interest rates for those first 24 months, interest payments for those first 24 months?
Right.
And if I feel like I'm gonna be able to refi and do better, I'd rather just experience those hard payments for those 24 months than buy down the rate. That whole buy down the rate thing, um,
We do the math for that.
yeah, these guys run through it, but that's a little more Dave Ramsey thinking, it's like, pick a house, pay that house off, never have debt again, and that's like the beginning of financial education. You can move on to using leverage smartly, and that's where they come in and do the math.
Right. We'll do the math.
Yeah.
It's just straight up like this is how much you're spending to get the lower rate, this is how much you're saving, and so it's gonna take 3.3 years to achieve rate. Do we think we're gonna refinance before 3.3 or after 3.3? And
Yeah.
if we think before, how much before? And of course, there's a whole bunch of assumptions that we have to make in order to help you come to a decision on if you wanna do it or not.
Yeah.
The other aspect, if you're talking about distressed in the sense of, properties that have, issues with them, like roof that needs to be replaced or, um, damages here and there that you're like, "Well, I'm a handyman, so I can fix this over time." There are lending restrictions associated with that. So we just need to make sure that we're setting you up with the right type of loan that you can buy a property that is distressed, like, as far as
Yeah, good point.
yeah.
Yeah, so if something's distressed structurally, hardest loans to get are gonna be government-backed loans, like VA, and it may not pass the appraisal, pass the inspection, not the home inspection, your home inspection where you're okay with the bad faucet, but the appraiser's inspection say, "No, this thing's too bust up."
Right.
Um, Thereafter, you can get potential conventional loans. I don't know many people in Hawaii have done a VA construction or a 203K,
I don't know anyone that does it right now.
and they're a pain, and there's a lot to that. So, um, yeah, we look at all those things with you. Larry said, "Hey, what's up, Larry?" Larry says has a Fannie Mae FH. Where's FHLMC?
Freddie Mac.
Oh, is that the acronym
Yep.
for it? Okay. Have Fannie and Freddie increased their DTI in light of the higher interest rates, or is it still around 40 to 42% DTI for eligibility? Not that I'm condoning stretching a family's finances, but underwriting is tight now. I remember talking Larry, we spoke, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I remember exactly who you are, your background, the Zoom meeting that we had, and Larry's a sophisticated guy, hence the comment and the question. So
Yeah, so interestingly enough, um, conventionally, Fannie and Freddie are past the 40 to 42 threshold, so we can go to 50. But
okay.
that's not like, "Oh, let's let them go to 50 because rates went up." It's been 50 for a while now.
And if you're at 50% DTI versus 40, is your rate different?
Not anymore.
No?
So they had made their what it was going to be. They
That's the
they did away
threshold?
with that.
Well, okay. And
They
if you were at 52, can you even get there with a higher rate, or it's not possible
You don't qualify.
with Fannie and Freddie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not there's no gray. Like, you will not qualify above a 50% as far as running automated approvals. That doesn't mean that we can't be smart and strategic and say, "Hey, instead of using this 10,000 for your down, let's decrease your down, increase your loan amount, and take the 10 to pay off your auto loan because you only owe 8,000, and that's gonna get rid of a $600 monthly payment."
Yeah, it's crazy how much paying off, like, 4,000 in debt might change your scenario.
Right. And
It
that's why you need a good lender. Because honestly,
Yeah.
I have people that come to me and they're like, "I was told that I can't qualify for this property and I have this opportunity to buy this property." And then we take a look at everything and we restructure it. Like, sure, it took some maneuvering, but no, there is a way that we can help you qualify.
That and Larry's question ties into a real life situation for me and Tiffany's question, which is, do you have any tips for first time buyers that aren't ready right now, but want to be in the next 2 years? Tiffany, great question. We should probably talk about this more. And although I'm not a first time home buyer, I came to them recently and was like, hey, if I get a new vehicle, how does it affect me if I lease it, if I finance it, if I finance it and then pay it off
Mhm.
versus if I just buy it cash? And um, so I came to Jodie and them with this specific question because I do want a new vehicle. My vehicle is about 10 years old, and I just got it I just got it detailed, and so I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, I'm good." And then just today, the air conditioner started leaking into the car. Yeah, it's like a
It's a
sign. I need
sign.
a new truck, right?
It's a sign.
It's a sign, yeah.
No, you don't need a new truck.
So my AC started making noise and leaking, but when I think about the new vehicle, I'm thinking about purchasing power because everything I'm thinking about is buying more real estate, human, real life monopoly. And so Jody, tips on people preparing to buy a new home, but it's gonna be a while.
Yep. I
Uh,
would definitely say understanding where your credit score is. Something like a consumer-based credit score tracking system, although that is not your actual financial credit score, will suffice for
like
this,
a Credit Karma.
like a Credit Karma. Just know that that's not your actual like mortgage qualifying credit score. But you know,
It's
and it,
usually a little higher, right?
Credit Karma's the consumer-based are higher.
Yeah, I came to Jodie and I was like, check them. I got 800. And she's like, yeah, you got 7 something. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And we hear that other times. Like
All the time.
people take pride in their 800 or their 7, whatever. And then Jodie's always like, oh, you're still good though.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No,
don't patronize
people
me.
like screenshot and they're like, bank tracks it for me and they said that I have an 805 and I'm like, correct. That's also like a consumer tracker. Like
Yeah.
that's not what we do, what we
Yeah.
pull,
That's
right?
what Macy's would pull
Right.
if you wanted a Macy's card.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
an auto loan,
Or
even.
an auto loan.
Right.
Yeah.
A personal loan, etc. But
So know your credit score.
know your credit score. Have credit. So what I mean by that is I talk to people all the time that they have one credit card.
Okay.
Or they're like, well, I did have a car loan and I paid it off like 5 months ago. Okay, so you effectively have no credit. So
I use my credit cards, but we pay them off. We zero them out every month.
right.
I don't subscribe to, you should keep a small balance. I'm offended by credit card companies making money off of me.
You don't have to keep a small balance, but you have to utilize your card.
Use it.
You have to utilize credit because actually the algorithm that we utilize to pull your credit score does know if the card is utilized. So
Mhm.
even if you zero it out every month, it knows that okay, he used it like $800 and then he paid it in full. It knows that.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to see because effectively what a credit score is trying to illustrate is your ability to use and repay debt.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in using credit cards, guess what? You probably don't have a credit score.
Yeah.
So that's a big tip. And
So know your credit, manage your credit, make sure it's used and it's high.
And
Someone could have like a 7 something, but it's based on like the one payment you made when you're 18
Right.
or whatever.
and
It's
that
not a hard 700. you
right.
know?
And we have our guy that we closed with. His name is I'm not thinking of his name right now, but he had 2 credit cards. He's like, I did the hard work. I did what someone else told me to do. And I said, yeah. And in the past 20 months, you've used it once.
Yeah.
So you're not proving to anyone that you have the ability to utilize or pay back debt.
Right.
And he was like, oh, right. So then for the next 90 days, he got one more card and then he utilized it. And then when we ran his automated approval, it went from not approved to approved.
Sure. Another thing I would say is reach out to us. Let us connect with you and connect you to lender because it's not too early to have a lending conversation. Basically, don't even call it a lending. Not too early to have a financial awareness conversation and credit awareness conversation. And the other thing you can do there is run the math. So, does it make sense to use some type of first-time home buyer product loan to take a loan with less down where you have mortgage insurance? Now, I along with me being too hard-headed to buy throughout my 20s and half of my 30s, I was like, "No, until I have 20% down or whatever," and I had a VA loan. I was insane. However, um, that shot
Mortgage
me
insurance is a tool. Mortgage
it
insurance is a benefit.
okay, so yeah, so that just like you would do the math to should you buy down points now, or should you wait, or should you not and just pay higher interest until you refi? You can do the math and run some projections based on a lower down payment,
Right.
paying mortgage insurance for the minimum amount of time,
Right.
and getting in the market and experiencing probable appreciation.
Yes.
And the way I describe that is the housing market, the economy, it's a river that's flowing. So trying to save up 20% in a place like Hawaii. Now, in Alabama, different. Like, go work hard, start your own landscaping company, and like cut people's grass and save up the 20,000 you need down for the $100,000 house. Like, use that Dave Ramsey principle in Alabama. But here, can you outsave inflation and the market appreciation? And probably not. Almost no one. And so, if this river's flowing, are you telling me you can outrun it? So run faster than the river for a full 20%? or do you want to jump in the river in a canoe and paddle with it? So use its inertia and save the mortgage insurance. And then we get to that 20% mark, like drop your whatever drag you had, drop that mortgage insurance. That's the analogy I use because if I had done that kind of thing sooner, I would just be way. Who knows? Maybe I might not be here talking to everyone today with the experience and the nuance that I have. So it is what it is. But yeah, consider buying even sooner, even if you don't have the finances to do it today. Who knows? Maybe
or
you do.
at least collect the data.
At least become more educated.
Collect the data.
You may not buy for 2 years.
Right.
Maybe they're not buying for 2 years because kids are moving out in 2 years, or
Right.
who knows what the reason may be. What are some other things they should do? Like
The,
pay
so
attention to buying cars, pay attention to financing mattresses,
yeah.
pay attention
I mean,
to
we have people that are like moving out of their current place that they're renting. They're
Mhm.
another set of your butt. But they, they're paying a lot of money in rent, and they're like, "But we can afford it," And I was like, "Yeah, I know you can afford it, but what if you were paying less?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so actually, they're PCSing here, but they're like a year ahead of the game, and their lease is ending this month. So what they're actually doing, because they connected with us so early, is they were like, "Oh my god, we're so glad that we got you before we extended our lease of our nice fancy high-rise condo that we live in."
Mm,
They are moving out now into a like $1,200 less a month place, 1,200 times 12,
yeah.
period. Like just that alone
Is that
is what they're gonna
14
have extra.
14,400?
Yeah,
Yeah.
extra. And then, they're also tweaking a whole bunch of the way that they do their finances so that they're gonna be able to qualify for what they want to qualify for. And we went over, like, crazy scenarios, like, what if my wife gets a job making, like, 30K, but what if she's making 50K? And, showing them, like, okay, this is what it would take they really wanted to qualify for $1,000,000.
So they're getting educated, nerding out, taking action all sooner.
Yeah.
If you wanna get good at soccer, can you do that without talking about it, studying it, doing it? No. You wanna get good at pick your thing, you know? If you don't talk about it, study it, do it, nerd out on it, kind of obsess on it, you're gonna get good at that thing. And that's a problem with America in general. We want our kids to be good at money. Like, my parents want me to be good at money. Also, they never really got good at it, never talked about it at the dinner table. It was something you don't talk about, but you're supposed to get good at it. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So talk about it sooner, talk about it more often,
Mhm.
and we can help facilitate that.
Yep.
Much follows Derek and Jodie. What kind of home is best for ownership without high monthly yearly cost HOA? George, I mean, that's just a home that is not in an HOA. However, it just depends. Like, I'm not gonna say areas, but they could build a set of 100 new homes in an area, and I may not buy it because it doesn't have HOA. Like, I may be like, "Ugh, over there without the HOA, it's gonna go to people are gonna start, you know, burying trucks in their front yard," and, like, sometimes the HOA is a good thing, is my point. Sometimes the HOA is beneficial for you. Um, but you wanna be discerning, right? You wanna be really scrutinizing when it comes to assessing the HOA. And also just your tolerance for having someone tell you what color your house can be and things like that. But you might like that because maybe you don't like it when the neighbors literally paint their house rainbow.
Or, have 8 dogs.
8 dogs or a dog breeding, like, business next door, which we have pets running around our offices and stuff. We're not
Oh,
anti-dog, but
yeah,
I'm
we
just
love
saying.
dogs.
With declining price also, but to his question, like, what kind of home is best? Generally, principal, you want the nicest, the smallest home on the nicest block, or the ugliest home that you can make nice on the nicest block. So that's not always true, but in general, you don't want the biggest thing in the neighborhood. You don't want the biggest, grandest, most expensive thing in the neighborhood, unless it's that kind of neighborhood. You're at the top of the hill with the best view. But a general suburb, if there's like a 1,000 square foot version, a 1,500, a 2,000, and then you're like the only one who builds a 5,000 square foot, like, your toilets are gold plated, like, there starts to be diminishing returns there. So, and even appraisers, like, I can't remember what it was, but this appraiser, like, my numbers were off on one of my listings. So I called this other appraiser and I'm like, "Hey, how come this other appraiser is only giving us this? Like, it seems too low." And anyways, one of the points he made was like, "Derek, let's say you have a gold toilet, but you're in, this community in Eva or Waianae." He's like, "I can't give you any value for that.
Right.
If you have like a gold toilet with diamond handle and Kahala, maybe I can assign some value for that. Like, it's appropriate to the neighborhood." Larry again. With declining prices, have you seen any issues with financing where appraisals have come in low compared to the contract price? Who do you find concedes more? Seller comes down or buyer pays difference? Good question. Um, I haven't seen it because if anything, we stated earlier, I don't know how long you've been on there, stated that, um and stack us up with more questions, by the way. But everyone, we we stated that the market's shown resilience. So it's almost if I'm not speaking for all appraisers, but it's almost like appraisers are like, "Okay, you guys gonna stop writing these strong offers?" Like, appraisers kinda take, what's the word? Like, take cue, pace, what's the better word? Like, they fall in line behind us, like, behind the offers they're seeing and the
Because
action they're seeing. They take our cue, like, there's another word I'm looking for,
yeah,
but appraisers don't just decide rates went up. Like, they don't call Jodie and say, "Well, what are rates? Before I appraise this thing, what are the rates doing?" They look at what the market activity has been. So since it has been so resilient, I haven't there's a problem on the way up. People are like, "Here's
right,
850," and the appraisers are like, "How are you justifying
right.
850?" And they're like, "Well, interest rates are 2%. I'll buy it for 850 now. It's gonna be $1,000,000." Like, they have a hard time in that part of the market cycle. On the way down, it hasn't really been an issue
It hasn't been an issue because there's comps of similar
of
homes
higher.
that are higher that support what our buyers are trying to buy it for.
Yeah.
So appraisals are one thing that we haven't been worried about.
I've had them come in high.
Yeah, we've had a couple come in high.
Yeah.
So that's less of an issue at this time because, coming out of the unicorn years, there's comps.
Here's the thing. You have to drag appraisers up, and then you have to pull them down. Just made that up on the spot, but I think that's the truth. Yeah.
And a good appraiser, which unfortunately you don't get to pick your appraiser anymore, but a good appraiser does know
There's good and bad to that, but yeah, sometimes
right.
you get
Well, historically, my appraiser that I used was, like, the most ethical, honest, and the smartest.
yeah,
So, I want every single one of our buyers getting her.
yeah,
Um, but that's not what everyone did. Some people were
yeah,
like, "Hey, Mr. Smith, hey, Mr. Appraiser, can you please make sure to hit 900K no matter what?" And that's different, right? Then that's a moral issue. Um, but what I was gonna say is that they do acknowledge that they're sitting with a buyer that has offered this amount of money, that is willing to pay this amount of money for this price.
yeah.
And they also like a good agent is gonna say, "Hey, just so you know, I already have 2 backups. Like, this is people want to pay this money for this property." That has to be acknowledged.
Mhm, yeah. Yeah, so I think you have to drag appraisers up, you have to pull them down, and the pulling down is just not really an issue. Um, alright, guys, we're gonna start to phase out, unless we have some last questions. It doesn't have to be about finances, it can be about Hawaii in general, um, neighborhoods, weather, schools, whatever you wanna talk about. But one last question we have for now is, we have an HOA on the mainland, and it's annoying. How prevalent are those on Oahu? Does it depend on the area, and do they make the home values better or worse? Great questions compiled into one comment. Are you saying how common are HOAs that are annoying? Is that what you're saying? Or how common are HOAs in general? Um, HOAs, I feel like are more prevalent in Hawaii than on Oahu than a lot of places.
Yep.
With the great disparity in wages agriculture and middle class, with all the things that exist in Hawaii and the weather and also a lot of neighborhoods are really old plantation style homes. With all of these things existing, HOAs are generally a good thing. Like a necessary evil kind of thing. How often are they annoying? I mean, it depends neighborhood to neighborhood. I was in one. I was a renter though in that one, and it was great that we had it. Yeah, I actually live next to the HOA person, like the president. She's a little annoying, but not big of a deal. Aiden was showing a property the other day, and the way it was one of those places, not good parking. We parked in the driveway, like his tire was on the road a touch. They said, like, by the time he got out of the car, this person came swooping around in a golf cart and was like, "Hey," and they, like, came out of their house, so they had to be, like, had their Ring camera, set up to annoy people. I own a townhome in an investment area, and, um, I own a townhome in an investment area, and the HOA is toxic. It's if I ever go to sell that thing, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what do you say about that? It's people fight and bicker, and there's, like, 3 different camps and factions. That's a unique that's a unique thing. I have an HOA where I live now, and I barely notice I even have one. I don't like, no one talks about it. I think
It
it's just
depends what type of property you get.
it just
'Cause if
depends.
yeah, if it's a single family home, in an association,
Mhm.
a lot of times it's almost you're not really gonna be impacted very much.
Yeah,
Um, and then if it's a townhouse, a little bit more, and then if it's a condo, the
even more.
most.
Yeah,
I think that's how I would
but
rate.
then the townhome's probably the worst case because in the condo, it's, like, to be expected. You're in the townhome a lot of the times 'cause you're like, I couldn't do single family right now for whatever
Right,
reason." Condo living, you're living off, Kapiolani or Ward or Kakaako, you're like, "Yeah, I'm in it for this." Like,
right. I think a lot of the townhomes for the most part are not I would say a majority are not annoying versus annoying.
yeah.
That would be my take.
Here's the
Um,
thing though, Jodie is, like, positive and optimistic and just all bright and all those things, and I'm more, like, skeptical and cynical and yeah, I think HOAs but even me, I think HOAs are generally fine.
and I think a lot of it also has to do with your neighbors, and unfortunately, you're not gonna know that going in.
Yeah, I mean, we'll pay attention as much as possible. We can't, like, live there for a month for you before we buy
Right,
it. Um, Another thing last thing on this HOA thing, take a place like Ocean Point in Eva Beach. Um, I'm not gonna pull it up, but in Eva Beach, there's this great grand community called Ocean Point, and there's 7 associations total within there, I believe. But you take a place like, Kaʻaina Kai, for example, they have the highest HOA charges for any of the townhomes, yet the least the there's no pool, there's no clubhouse, and so even like this HOA versus this one in a adjacent similar neighborhood that's part of the same thing overall, they can be different, and so those are things to boil down, in town, like this condo versus this condo next door, views essentially the same, amenities similar. One could be a $1,500 HOA, one and the next one's 900. Why? I don't know, 20 years of management, choosing different painters and concrete repairman, like, it HOAs are a case by case basis.
yep.
For the most part, they're good. Um, Michael Lara, hey, what's up, Mike? Does a lower down payment make the offer weaker if pre-qualified? I mean, just quick answer, yes. The best, like, your $1,000,000 home, best down payment I wanna see as a seller, $1,000,000, and then 900's weaker than 1,000,000, 800's weaker than 900, so in general, yeah. Um,
But
I don't yeah, like, where's the but? I'm trying to come up with the
there's a
but.
but. There's definitely a but, which is in Hawaii, and I think in every little micro community,
Mhm,
it's just that ours is Oahu or ours is Hawaii, right?
yeah,
Bigger. Um, relationships matter,
yeah,
and so we've had numerous times, hundreds, I would say, when a 5% down beat out offer, a 5% down payment offer beat out a 20 and a 30% due to relationship. Because the agents know each other, they know, like, this is a no-nonsense guy, we're gonna be able to come through, and, not to toot my own horn, but the lender matters.
Yeah,
So,
matters big.
yeah, so, yes, of course, it's just on surface level. Of course, 20% down is way better than 5% down,
Yeah,
but when push comes to shove and there's relationships and there's history and there's people knowing each other, it's easy for us to overcome those types of things.
sure. Another I had a but, and I lost it. No, it's okay. Oh, the but is if it's $1,000,000 home and someone's financing half of it, 500,000, put 500 down, financing 500, and the other person's financing all of it. They're a VA buyer, so 0 down. If they both gotta go through underwriting, they
Right.
both gotta get conditional loan approval, they both gotta the 500,000 person may not need an appraisal, but assume they both need appraisals. The timeline and the steps are essentially the same. So, if I'm a seller and one has 500,000 down but wants to pay 1,000,000, the other has 0 down but is down to pay 1,025,000, if I think my property will appraise at 1,025,000, I'm probably accepting the 1,025,000 because they both have to get it up either way. If I'm concerned about that appraisal and I know that, like, there's nothing to support 1,025,000 here, then the down payment really matters. So it's really situational.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really situational. Um, alright,
Also a
oh,
buyer that has a bigger down might think that they have more leverage, and at the end of the day, like, I gotta say, in our market and the way that things have been, that is just not always the case.
that's true, and so I might even as a seller put myself in a great leveraged position if I accept the second to the best offer,
Right.
show them the first offer and say,
Right.
"Look, see this? See this right here? Now act up.
Right.
Don't get cute.
Exactly.
Don't get cute,"
And, okay, the 5% down buyer, I mean, just to be real, like, they're not necessarily gonna ask for as much.
They're
They're not gonna be like, "I'm putting 50% down. If I want
maybe.
that fixed,
Yeah.
I kinda want that fixed."
They're grateful, right?
Right.
Yeah. All these things can go there's an art
Yes,
to the deal.
there
There's
is,
an
and
art to the deal.
there really is,
Yeah, yeah.
our craft.
Alright, we enjoyed talking with you guys today. If you're watching this after the fact, leave us some comments and some questions. We'll get to it on the next one. Uh, in the top right-hand corner, coreteamhawaii.com, book a call. You can get to our YouTube videos there. Um, if you guys didn't know, actually, here, you can go to this map. If you hover, you can click on it, and it'll take you to these videos. Like, here's a minute. Mahi and I did these videos and with Ken, and we specifically talk about these different communities. So a little like 2 minute, 3, 4 minute nuggets that aren't on the channel. They're not like on the YouTube channel as regular videos.
Oh,
So some videos
wow.
that, little short snippets and takes on communities, those small bite-sized nuggets. You can hover over our map on the main page and actually click on those.
That is so fancy. I love that.
The web provider actually was like, "We've never done this, but we're gonna do it for you." And I was pushing, and I was like, "Hey, we're big YouTubers, help us." And, they're like, now other people want it. They end up doing it for everyone now.
Oh. Well, it
Um,
makes so much sense.
it makes so much sense, especially with our buyers, right? And even our sellers, because we have sellers like, we sold one in Waikele, they moved in, now they're moving to Pro City. Uh, Shout outs to Rachel and Nam. They, they're Hawaii people, but even Hawaii people are like, "Bro, I never thought of things the way you guys." You guys have, like, a crazy amount of nuance. We get that all the time, like, in the streets. So, yeah, hit us up, go to coreteamhawaii.com. You can go to the bottom too, all the way at the very bottom, send us a message there.